Welcome to The Record Show, your virtual spin around the vinyl industry. Brought to you by Radio Wasteland Records. Yes, Midland has a record store. Here's your host, Jim Gleason.
Greetings from the Wasteland and welcome to another edition of The Record Show. We've got our Yule on for today's episode. We'll use a vinyl record to help track jolly old St. Nick as he travels around the world, delivering his presents on Christmas Eve. And we'll go back to a personal favorite for another Christmas time spin from the Wasteland. But first, much like that famous Christmas poem where it says, "Not a creature was stirring," this week's new releases are a little bit light. So rather than kind of cover the highlights, I thought we would check in with Ken Norton from Ingram Entertainment to just kind of do a year-end wrap-up. Ken, how are you today?
Doing well, Jim. How about you?
Good. Yeah. Thank you for taking the time. I know this is still a busy go around for you guys, getting all these last minute shipments out.
We are, up till Christmas Eve. I think they're still delivering up till Christmas Eve. So people are still filling back the bins, and fortunately, a lot of vinyl selling out there.
Well, this kind of gets to what I wanted to talk about, kind of wrapping up the year. This has been really, and I think from your guys' vantage point, you have a good view of this, but just a banner year for vinyl sales across the country.
Absolutely has been, yes. The biggest challenge of 2021 has been getting enough vinyl to satisfy the demand, the customer demand. It's just they can't press it fast enough, and you hear all about the supply chain issues, and those take place sort of behind the scenes. I guess sometimes may affect the flow of raw materials to these warehouses and so forth. But our biggest problem is there are only so many pressing plants for vinyl internationally, and the demand increases every year. The number of plants doesn't increase to keep up with the demand, so they just can't make enough.
Now, and I don't think that the whole issue of shipping, maybe with some turntables or components and electronics, but with vinyl, I would imagine most of that is air freight, especially the stuff coming from overseas pressing plants.
Right. Most of the vinyl pressing plants that are overseas are in Europe. So it's not quite the supply chain issues as Asia. But although there may be some raw material issues, from time to time, paper or the actual vinyl materials and things like that.
That's what I'd heard as well. So yeah, you'd mentioned the pressing plants have trouble keeping up, but there's a lot that goes into this process. And one little slowdown in one of those components throws everything off. Well, what do you see looking back at 2021? I have to really stop and remember what year it is from time to time. What did you see as kind of the biggest or some of the bigger releases that we saw this past year?
Oh, this past year Dell was, of course, a very big deal. That was long anticipated, and it's been so long between records for her. Plus, she's widely popular, and a lot of different types of people appreciate her music. So that was the biggest record shipping this year. And there continues to be a lot of interest in Taylor Swift, and she's put out her reissues this year of her revisited albums, which have been really popular. But I don't think from like a rock side of things, the Greta Van Fleet, that right there in your backyard, that's been a really big one this year. That's been hard.
That hit way early in February too. So
yeah, it's been hard to keep in stock.
Yep.
The demand for that's continued to be strong. There's been a number of big reissues this year that have done well. The Beatles, the Let It Be Revisited, that's been big. That's also currently completely sold through.
On the notion of the box sets, the reissues that include multiple versions, is that a trend that you see continuing as we release and get near some of these bigger anniversary releases now through 1972? We're looking at 50 years, but it seems like all of these big albums come with multiple variations of the reissue, the remix, then maybe one with an extra record, and then a huge box set that's got everything under the sun with it.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely think it's going to continue to be a big thing. There's so many of that particular era of rock that now are hitting anniversary dates, and there's strong interest from customers, from the public to revisit some of these watershed, moments. And if you were a big fan and you've already got the vinyl or you've got some version of it already, it's more interesting if it comes with bonus material and collectible items and new packaging and things like that. So
Yep.
I think it's going to continue to be a big deal. I don't think it's going to slow down at all.
Now, one of the other big things coming, actually, this began in 2020 at the height of the closures and everything that went on, but continued as kind of a late notice in 21, was the notion that Record Store Day proper, the April event, split itself up into what they began calling drops. And I do remember a note here from Record Store Day about a week or so ago in the form of a save the date email. It looks like they're going back to the one day in April for that. Is that what you're
They
seeing
are.
too?
I don't know how public the announcement is on the date and the details yet. So I don't want to, and I don't know the actual information to divulge it, but I do know that that's the intention, is to do one international Record Store Day back in the April timeframe that they had been doing. The whole rearrangement of the dates had a lot to do with COVID and people not being able to go into record stores. Not only in the States, but it's an international event, and the scheduling of it has an international committee that just all has to agree on the same date. Because if it's an exclusive for Record Store Day, but it comes out overseas, say for instance a month before it comes out in the States, well, people can buy them from overseas. So they want to coordinate those to coincide, and that's what they're going to do. I've heard speculation, total speculation. I have no information that that they would consider an additional drops date in the summer if a number of the records weren't ready for April. What we found at Black Friday was 25% of the records that were scheduled got bumped off that street date because they couldn't meet the manufacturing deadlines. So if for that to happen again in April, I think they'll strongly consider doing another special day. It may not be a full Record Store Day, but a special drop day with those titles that couldn't quite make it into April for production reasons. Well, it's something that's being discussed. I know. I don't think it's been decided on.
Well, kudos to the Record Store Day folks. I know they've got a lot to deal with on their plates between closures and now delays going into it. I think they do a really, really good job putting that event together every year. Well, twice a year with the Black Friday, but we'll just have to hold on tight, and hopefully they'll get stuff straight by April.
They do. They do admirable work. There's a lot to it, I can tell you, and I'm not even there, but I know there's a lot to it. So,
all right. Well, Ken, thank you again so much for joining us on the days that you're able to. I know things are a little crazy. It's been an absolutely fun 2021, and I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing this with you in 2022, time permitting.
Sounds great. Thank you, Joe.
And thanks again for you and all of the folks at Ingram. You guys do a great job getting that stuff to us. I know with the limitations that we're talking about, but you still do good work getting us the stuff we need, and we really appreciate that.
Well, likewise.
All right. Well, you have a great Christmas, sir, and a good New Year, and we'll talk to you on the other side.
Absolutely. You too. Thanks, everybody.
It's a given that vinyl records have played a big role throughout the history of radio, musically speaking. What's lesser known, though, is that vinyl records also played a big role throughout radio's history in the servicing of things like commercials and special programming. One such special programming, a holiday-themed one, is that of the NORAD Santa Tracker. Now, NORAD, the North American Defense Command, has been tracking Santa since the 1950s. In fact, the story goes that in 1955, a young child trying to reach out to Santa dialed a misprinted phone number from a department store ad in a local newspaper. Instead of calling Santa, that child called the Continental Air Defense Command, which is the precursor to NORAD. Playing along, the folks at NORAD told them that Santa was on the way. In the years following, NORAD began an annual event of tracking Santa Claus, and the main way to reach people in that era was through radio. So throughout the 1960s and into the 70s, NORAD pressed vinyl to send to radio stations that they could play, inserting their Santa tracking events. Some of them were 7-inch, some on 12-inch vinyl LPs. We don't have any in the store currently, but I have had in the past one from 1974 and another one from 1970. On one side of the 1970 release was a musical special performed by the NORAD Commanders Orchestra. The other side had 8 reports that radio stations could drop in throughout Christmas Eve to show the progress that Santa was making around the world so the kids could keep track.
Earlier today, radar operators of the Aerospace Defense Command and Canadian Forces were placed on special alert to watch for and track an airborne object, believed heading for the North American continent. We've just received a report that an unknown object has been sighted by one of our stations on the due line. Let's switch to Sergeant Dan Barker, 22nd NORAD Region, North Bay, Ontario, for the latest details.
The object first appeared on our radar screens coming from the direction of the North Pole and is headed south toward Canada and the United States. Our computer readout now indicates 9 objects rather than 1. There's a large sled-like vehicle or command craft preceded by 8 smaller devices, which could be some sort of propulsion system. One thing for sure, the radar image is unlike any flying object presently known to science.
A report from NORAD's 22nd Region at North Bay, Ontario. We'll keep watching the unknown and have more information within the hour. This is Air Force Sergeant Lee Mosley of the North American Air Defense Command in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Nowadays, of course, NORAD is keeping up with the times and they stream their Santa reports so kids can watch them throughout the evening. But those were the days when radio stations and vinyl played a big important part in keeping the kids' hopes and dreams of Santa alive. So in last week's show, I admitted to you that I'm not a huge fan of Christmas music, and then proceeded to tell you about one of my favorite Christmas albums. I figured maybe I am a little bit of a fan of some Christmas music, and some of it tends to be a little offbeat. Like this one, another favorite going back some time, is from Bad Religion. Now, this is their album called Christmas Songs, originally released in 2013, primarily on CD, but they did do a red vinyl version then. And then beginning in 2019, and I believe this year as well, they reissue this on a few different colors here and there. This particular one is on gold vinyl, brownish gold vinyl, if you will. One side of their Christmas music, and the other side, very, very difficult to see, but it is an etching with a set of, well, reindeer antlers. Again, a little kind of tough to see. We'll get a better picture of that up there. Now, Bad Religion is a punk group, a harder rock punk group, known sometimes for their irreverence. So when you think Christmas music and you think maybe punk versions of Christmas songs, Bad Religion comes along and blows me away on this. These are traditional Christmas songs sung with a much heavier rock sound, but there is no irreverence whatsoever in that tone. Bad Religion almost is really paying a fabulous homage to Christmas music and doing some great, great versions of some great, great holiday classics.
Oh, come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Praise the Lord. Yes!
Yes, Bad Religion's Christmas songs are a bit heavier, especially if you're used to lighter fare. But that's what makes this so enjoyable for me, and I hope you got a kick out of it as well.
To lay before the King, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum. So to honor him, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, when we come.
And finally today, we'd like to share with you our record store Christmas poem. From all of us at Radio Wasteland Records, thank you for watching our channel, and thank you for being a part of our family. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you and yours. "'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the store, not a vinyl was spinning, not even Zep 4. The stylus were cleaned by the groove wash with care, in hopes that new releases soon would be there. Crate diggers were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of mint grail finds danced in their heads. The Pinks and the Floyds were placed neatly on shelf, organized autobiographically as if by some neurotic elf. When out of the speakers there came such a noise, "But Mama, don't worry, it's just the Beastie Boys." Opening the dust cover, I removed one from the clash, to place on another by the pumpkins that smash. When what to my wondering ears did I hear? This cool cut from Bob Mould on vinyl that's clear. 'Twas played by a jolly spirit so lively and quick, I knew that this DJ must be Saint Nick. More rapid than Rush, his jams they all came, and he danced and he shouted, and he called each out by name. Now Jack, now Meg, now Crimson and King, on Seeger, on Greta, and some guy named Sting. From the best of the Beatles to that one from The Call, now spin away, spin away, spin away all.
Record, baby, round, 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 round. You spin me right round, baby, right round like a record, baby, round, 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 round.
Thanks for watching The Record Show. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe to the Radio Wasteland Records YouTube channel. And be sure to hit that notifications bell so you'll be alerted every time we upload new content.